Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know it's been a minute. I know there's been some time. I know, I know. I hear you saying it. I hear you saying it. Rich Bees, where you been? Rich Bees, what's going on? I know you saying that. Well, I've been busy. I've been working on a lot of things. I've been working on my companies. I've been working on AI. I've been working on all this and all that, right? I've been making things happen. You know what I'm saying? There's still more to go. Still more things I got to do, right? But I didn't want to leave you without. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to, leave you all alone, if you will, right? No, I didn't. What I wanted to do was make sure I hollered at my peoples. You know what I'm saying? That we touch bases once again. That we jumped in the room, had another conversation. You know what I'm saying? Because I was doing a lot of co-working, but lately the things that I've been working on, I haven't really been co-working with it. I just been, you know, mm, doing my thing, if you will, right? But today, I got the bucket hat sitting low. You know what I'm saying? It's all over my eyebrows and things like that, but you know no good. This is what we on today. You know what I'm saying? We getting things done. So with that point in mind, I know there are a lot of y'all out there who have followed, right? If you jumped on quick, then that means you probably followed. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're special. Always remember that, right? If you're new here and you're just coming on, I appreciate you even taking your time out to come to my stream, okay? To head over to my channel. You know who it is. You know what it is. This is the Real Rich Bees channel on all of these. Know well that we're always appreciative. Anytime anybody jumps in the chat, I try to make sure that I acknowledge you. Why? Because you didn't have to. I appreciate you when you do. Okay? So I know this stream may take a little while. This is a pretty deep topic. Okay? That's what I'm going to say. This is a deep topic. In that, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page here when it comes to this topic. First and foremost, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change up some stuff. So give me 1 second, okay? What am I going to change up? I'm going to change up my lighting. Because right now, I don't like the fact that my shirt is not white, right? Don't like it at all, Russ. So here we go. Give me 1 second. Let me change this up real quick. All right, so we're back. Got the lighting adjusted, right? I like this color profile a little bit better. Hey, listen. Hey, I'm gonna tell you up front. Don't judge me for my t-shirt, okay, today. Don't judge me for my t-shirt today. Because I had on my jacket, right? Had on my jacket. However, it's a little bit hot. For some reason, it was supposed to be a little bit chillier today, even though my AC is blasting. I've been working in here all day, and because of the servers and things I got going on, it just got hot. Okay, it got hot. So with that, now that we're good to go, I feel like we're ready to go. Let's pull up the runner show for today. Okay, we're gonna pull up the runner show for today. But before I hit that button, take a look down here, right? That's what's gonna come up where you'll see the followers, you'll see the subscribers that we currently have here live on Twitch. Okay, so let's put that up. Boom. All right, so the followers are loading. Bam. Boom. This is where we got, right? That's currently where we are, right? We got 56 followers and 3 subscribers. So if you want to take your time out to subscribe, remember it's free if you have Prime, or follow. Listen, I appreciate you. If you're on the YouTubes, you can hit that subscribe button and I'll appreciate you there too. Jump in the comments on YouTube on any of this and we'll have a dialogue. We'll continue on with the dialogue on any one of these videos that you've seen of mine, okay? On any one of them. If you hit the comments, I'm gonna respond, right? Unless you say something out of the way. If you say something crazy out of the way, I'm gonna pin the comment so everybody can see just how smart you are. All right. But in the meantime, in between time, what we're doing is we're gonna get on the topic. So let's put the runner show up. Boom. Now understand, there's more than this. That's why I said this string may be a little lengthy. Okay. However, we're gonna work this topic out. Okay. We're gonna work it out. Now bear with me as we make our way through this topic because again, this is quite a bit. Okay, so I'm have to maneuver things on my screens and stuff so that way I can stay focused because I still got AI in the background over here doing something else, right? It might ask me, hey, do you want to approve this? Maybe, but I'm gonna disregard it as much as possible, but it might catch my attention. So don't worry about that. I'm still gonna stay on topic because you know me, I work and I talk. Those are the 2 things I do. And I do them so well if I must say so myself. Okay, so where are we going with this? Here's where we're going with this. First thing we're talking about is the topic of the day. The topic of the day is what does peace look like for a man? That's what we're on. Okay, that's what we're on. So if we say that's what we're on, cool, let's go into the intro. What are we talking about here? Right? You might say, Rich B's, what's your angle? Well, I know that a lot of men, I'm around a lot of them. And when I say a lot of them, not that I'm around them, but I deal with men a lot. Because I'm in men's groups, right? I'm in business, right? I have phone calls with a lot of men, and not everything that we talk about stays on the business subject. Sometimes, you know how a conversation may just veer. Conversations veer sometimes. But what they tell me is they want peace. Okay? This is what men are looking for. Men are saying they want peace. But the question that I'm going to ask in reference to that is, if you currently here on this live are a man, have you ever really defined what peace is for you? That's the question. That's the question. If you defined it before, put a yes in the chat, put a yes in the comments. If you haven't, same thing with the no. Say, no, I didn't. I've never actually defined what peace is for me, right? I don't know what that currently looks like for me. Okay. And up until this point, I haven't either, right? Like I've never defined what that is. So what ends up happening is that we as men end up chasing relief. We end up chasing control, silence, money, sex, distance, right? And then we call that peace. That's what I have seen, heard, and experienced personally, right? You may be a little bit different, maybe, but if you are probably because you defined it. That's probably why you're different, if you are from what I just said. Okay? So if that's what men are saying, that they want peace, what does that really mean? Right? Because I believe that some men don't want peace. That's not what they're looking for. Not really. Right? I believe some men just want to break. They want to break, right? Some control. They want some relief and escape. Right? At least, okay. I know. Rich, speak for yourself. All right, I will. I did. Right? Thinking that's peace. Right? Peace is when if I say something, somebody else does something. Right? That's peace, because then I'm not stressed. Especially if they take that task on and they actually get it done. Right? Maybe, getting in disagreements around my house with my spouse or my kids or whatever. That doesn't feel like peace. So I want to be able to get rid of that. Like get away from that. Right? Not get rid of them, but just get away from that. Right? Go off into my own studio. Right? Get away somehow. Right? That can feel like peace. But really, that can be escape. Right? Because also, a lot of times when you say you want peace, it's like, let me get away and just go ahead and have a drink. Right? Let me go get away and blow one. You know what I'm saying? Those are what a lot of men are using as times that they saying that they can have peace. Which I get it, right? I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that is that really peace? Right? Is that what peace really is? It's a question, right? Because I don't necessarily know what peace is for you, but I could see that those things can be escapes. They could be relief. They can be efforts of control, right? Those aren't things that we really want to do, because as men, we want to, let's attack the problem. Let's handle the problem, right? Let's get that taken care of. Because if we get that taken care of, then we can establish peace, right? Peace in our household, peace in our family, peace in our finances, peace in our spiritual walk, peace in a lot of different things. If we can grab hold of something and it listens to the things that we want to see done. Does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe I just have this different viewpoint than many people, right? But if you could really be honest about the situation, it is possible that releasing those things could be peace. Possibly. So, you know how we do on this channel? Let's go ahead and do that. What is that, you ask? You know what it is. It's number 2 on the list right there. What we're going to do? Yes, indeedy, it is definition time. So we're going to move to the definition. Give me a second. Let's go ahead and put this on screen. Let's make sure that we're going to get the right thing when we go to the desktop, right? So, desktop. 1 second. Let's see if we can get it up. Because there's something about this whole program that you don't ever want to keep my stuff. So, all right, here we go. Let's go ahead and get that up. What we're going to do is we're going to define the word peace, because that's what we're talking about, right? So let's do that. Let's go to the desktop. Wow. All right. We have peace, right? Peace. Oh, look at that. Peace is a noun. What you know? What you know? Who knew that? Peace is a noun. But peace can also be, let's scroll it down. Peace can also be a verb, right? Peace can also be an action. So you can have peace as a noun, Or you can have peace as an action, right? You can have it as a person, place, or thing. That's what a noun is. Or you can have it as an action, meaning peace. Something that is an action, right? All right, let's go back. So what is peace, right? Because we have the definitions here, but I think what happens is, let me go back. Hold on. We're going to talk about the definition. Give me 1 second. Because what I think happens is that because we never define peace for us, and we keep chasing the wrong things to acquire peace, right? Chasing the wrong things to acquire peace, then we think peace is being left alone, right? We think peace is getting away. Peace is having money. Peace is having a woman submit. Or peace is silence, right? But some of that is not peace. Some of that is just temporary relief, as I stated before. So let's pull it back up. Let's go to the definition. Boom, right? And so peace, noun. First off, definition, the very first one, right? First of all, peace is a state of. Are you reading that? Do you see that? Do you see that? Right there. It says a state of tranquility or quiet. Right? That's the main definition of peace. A state of tranquility or quiet. Such as freedom from civil disturbance. Right? A state of security or order within a community provided for by law or custom. Freedom from being disturbed or bothered by people, noise, etc. I mean, a lot of those things we said, right? Which can lead to the whole, getting away side of it, right? Because if we're getting away, then that could be seen as peace, right? If we are having our children or women submit, that could get us to peace, right? So I mean, it makes sense, right? It makes sense. But is that the right way we should look at it, right? Let's go to definition 2, okay? Let's go to definition 2. Definition 2, freedom from disquieting or oppressive thoughts or emotions. Now that's interesting, right? Freedom from disquieting or oppressive thoughts or emotions. Meaning, that to me sounds internal. That to me sounds internal, right? Freedom from disquieting, meaning something that's going against a quiet state, right? Oppressive thoughts, right? Things that's playing in your mind that are keeping you from peace, right? Or emotions that you're having that is keeping you from peace. These things are going against your peace, so it's freedom from those things that are going against your peace, right? Is this making sense? If it is, let me know. Let me know that that's making sense. You know what I'm saying? Nod. Yep. Don't worry about what other people are doing. If it makes sense to you, nod your head. Yep, I know you get it. Right? Because the whole point is for the next definition. Right? Let's go to the next definition, which says harmony in personal relationships. Wow. If you're married, if you have a partner, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, or what have you, it could even be siblings, right? Your sibling relationships. If you don't have peace in them, then that means there's no harmony, which means that there's a lot of probably dysregulation going on, but whatever it is compromising your ability to be in a state of tranquility, right? You can have tranquility with someone else there, so that doesn't mean you have to be alone to get peace. I think a lot of people get that twisted. If you really look at it, I think a lot of people get that twisted because a lot of people feel like being alone is peace, right? Which we talked about just a second ago when I said being left alone might be the wrong thing to chase, right? Because if you're on a deserted island, that might be good for about a week or so. Maybe. Look what happened on the movie Castaway. He was alone on a beach. What did he do? He then created a coconut friend, right? Come on. He created a coconut friend that he could talk to. Because being alone is not good for a man. Being alone is not good for a man. You can quote me on that. Or better yet, just quote the Bible. The Bible says it's not good that man is alone. So I'm just saying, wisdom is wisdom, despite who the messenger is. So it might not be good to chase that, right? What you are chasing more than anything else is harmony within your personal relationships. That's what you're chasing. That's what you should be chasing. Harmony. Right? But we can get into that another time. So if we move on to definition 4, right? We don't need that one. Because definition 4, and I'm going to show you so that way you don't think I'm just pulling your leg or something. Definition 4 speaks of governmental stuff, right? A state or period of mutual concord between governments. We're not talking about governments, okay? But used interjectively. Let me say that word again. What is that? Interjectionally. There we go. Used interjectionally to ask for silence or calm or as a greeting or farewell, right? Peace. So it can be a greeting or a farewell. Peace. Peace, my brother. You know what I'm saying? So it can be used for those greetings and salutations. But we're talking about the state, right? We're talking about the state of tranquility, calmness, possibly silence, also harmony, right? That's what we're talking about. More than anything else. You know what I'm saying? So I think, and y'all tell me if you're wrong, that at this point, we have an accurate definition and understanding of what peace is, right? And if I have to quote it again, then that would be a state of tranquility or quiet, right? State of tranquility or quiet. That's the primary definition. So let's turn the corner. Peace is not just what's happening around you. Right? Peace is not just what's happening around me. Peace is also about what's happening in me. Right? Because if I'm full of chaos, insecurity, ego, fear, unresolved pressure, right? We had a whole video about pressure before. Am I addicted to pressure? Right? Because if I am, then where's the peace? Because I say I want peace, but yet I'm addicted to the pressure. Does that make sense? Like it doesn't, does it? It doesn't, right? But what I want to do is I want to be able to walk into a quiet room and still have peace. That's the epitome of what peace is, right? I want to be able to walk in a room that's loud, concert, everything is going. all things are just happening in there. But when I walk in, internally, I still have peace. A peace that surpasses all understanding. Right? Told you we gonna turn the corner. We gonna turn the corner. Because it's more than that. You know what I'm saying? It's if you're dealing with the state of, right, tranquility, that has nothing to do with what's going on around you. What that speaks on is what's going on in you more than anything else. Right? Okay. All right, cool. So we're talking about, I'm just going to go ahead and jump here. We're just going to go ahead and jump to some real life examples. If I have kids, if you don't have kids, good for you. Or maybe not, if you want them. I love my kids. My kids are dope. But in that, if you do have kids, what you'll know is that those kids can be jumping off the wall. Right? They could be jumping off the wall. I can still have peace, right? I could. But a lot of times what we have is anger because they're all over the place, right? We're feeling dysregulated because they are operating in their curiosity, right? They're just being kids. But we want to regulate them, sit them down, put them in a corner, do something with them, right? So that way we can have a little bit of quiet because we need that to happen for our peace to be regulated in us. That shouldn't be, right? Your kid should be able to just, of course, get them on a task. Don't let them hurt themselves, right? Don't let them hurt themselves. But they should be able to yell, scream, play, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Run around in circles if they want to. That shouldn't hinder your ability to have peace as a man. It shouldn't. Does it though? More than likely. If you agree with me, W's in the chat, because you know it is. You know that it can be hard if you have kids to have peace in your house. Right? But if we're saying that peace is a state of tranquility, that means that's in you, then you should be able to still have peace even when chaos surrounds you. Is that making sense? I don't know whether or not you guys have ever been able to do that, but I think as a man, that's what we should be striving to be able to do. Because I think about the movie 300, right? Have you ever seen the movie 300? In 300, you have the whole war going on. This is Sparta, all this kind of stuff, right? If you noticed, even in sometimes there was chaos going on, a lot of them still kept their peace, right? They still stood strong. They didn't get all antsy and, jumping at the bit. You know what I'm saying? No, they were total calm. Why? Because they trusted themselves. Right? They trusted themselves. They trusted their leader. They trusted, their plan. They trusted their understandings. So they could stand in total chaos and still have peace. Right? Because I think, I would say it this way. What I know about men, based on being one, based on being around them, based on stories that men have said, a man thinks that peace means nobody is questioning him. That's not peace. That just means people might be afraid of you. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean that's peace. That don't mean you have peace. That means you have fear that you've placed in these people to cause them not to ask you questions. right? Sometimes men think peace means no responsibility. That's not peace. That just means you're not doing anything. That can also mean you're broke. Who wants to be broke to acquire peace? Not me. So that's not what we're talking about, right? As a man, you're going to have responsibility, right? There's no way that as a man that you won't have responsibility. So check that off your list. That's one of the things that is a have to have. That should not. I'm not going to say that's not going to, but it should not take away from your ability to achieve the state of peace internally. Right? What we know is that peace does not equate to isolation. We talked about that when we talked about the Castaway movie, right? Isolation is not peace. Isolation is possible loneliness. That's why it's not good for man to be alone. Make sense? All right. So if we get to another example, right? If you have a partner, if you're married or something like that, right? I think some men think that peace looks like your woman never bringing up issues. I would beg to differ that is not peace, right? Peace, again, is the state that you are inside, despite what's happening on the outside. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter whether your kids bring you issues. It doesn't matter whether you got this hot topic going on. You have this, responsibility that you have to take on, or, you have to go on this trip and still get this other work done. And you have 45 billion jobs, right? Got 5 job, man. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna be in a state of peace if I let those things stop, right? If I control all of those things and I let everything go, or I run away and go somewhere else, that doesn't mean that I'm going to have peace. It doesn't. Right? Because what that is often control issues, avoidance issues, or just flat out immaturity. I mean, yep, Rich B said it. I'll be here all week. You know what I'm saying? If you disagree, hit me in the comments or jump in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Chat, you can say it. You can say it. If you think I'm wrong, if you don't agree, that's fine. That's you. But also, I don't know if you just jumping in, so you might have not heard the beginning to get up to this point, but I would venture to say that nope, none of those are actually peace. None of those ways of handling it. Right? Not a one. So let's go a little bit deeper on this topic, right? And we're going to move the checklist. So if we go deeper, what does peace look like? Or even might it look like? Because again, every man is different. But what might it look like for a man? Right? What would peace possibly look like for a man when handled correctly? How about, let's say it like that, right? Maybe clarity, right? With peace comes clarity, right? When you have peace, you can get clarity. We can flip that. When you get clarity on an issue, on a problem, finding a solution, that can lead to peace. They're interchangeable, it seems, when it comes to clarity, right? Because it doesn't, Either one of them can come first. Either the peace could come first, which gives you additional clarity, or clarity can come first, which can get you to peace. That may be a way to achieve a state of tranquility, aka the definition of peace, right? Self-control. That can get you to peace. That may be peace. The fact that I can control myself, even when chaos is going on, things are falling apart, all that kind of stuff, I'm not flying off the ceiling too, right? I'm not mirroring that which is happening around me. I am mirroring what I want to see happen around me, and so I can stay calm, right? Emotionally, physically, mentally, right? I can keep my peace. I don't have to say everything that's on my mind. You know what I'm saying? Because I have peace. I am peace. I am in a state of tranquility despite what's happening. Right? And I'm going to keep saying that. You might as well put it on repeat because it is a repetitive type of thought process, right? So what else might peace look like? Right? Peace might look like you're able to sit with yourself, right? You could be in a room, nothing is going on, and you're able to just sit there. I'm not saying that you're meditating. I'm not saying that you're in prayer. I'm not saying that you're working out. None of that kind of stuff. But you're able to just sit there and be with your thoughts. That could be peace. Right? Peace can also be not being ruled by your emotions. Right? Because we talked about that before. We talked about the whole, letting emotions lead you, right? That's not a good thing if you're being led by emotions. If all of your decision making is based on emotions, then that's not a good thing as a man. Not saying that you don't need to take emotions into account, but you shouldn't be led by them. Right? Peace could also look like you have order in your life. Right? Because if you have order in your life, then that means that you're able to flow and navigate spaces because everything's in order. Right? It's not chaos. It's order. It's structure. You know what I'm saying? That can bring on a state of tranquility. That can bring on peace. Okay? So that is one of the biggest things that I feel like people are missing, right? Is understanding that if we can create order, then we can get peace. I think a lot of men are going about it wrong because they're trying to get order based in fear or control. The only time that control is really good as a man, the only time control is really good is when it's self-control, right? Controlling oneself. Because even if you're a police officer and you're trying to get control of a situation, that's still not good because you shouldn't have to try to control someone else. It's understandable because it's the job. But that's not the way that you should handle your average everyday life, right? Sometimes we have to do things because that's the employment area that we're in, right? And then we end up taking those things that we have to do as a job or as a career over to our personal life, and then we wonder why the thing isn't working. Because the thing that you're doing for your job, that works for the job. That was something they taught you at the job. When you first got the job, they said, hey, here's the things you need to do. Why? Because that's the SOP for this job, the standard operating procedure, right? When you go home, you have to create your own SOP, right? You have to create your own rules of engagement for the things that you encounter. You have to. They do it on your job. Why not do it in your life? They gave you that on your job because they want you to be successful. Why not in your life? Do you create that for yourself so you can be successful? What is your SOP? Right? What is your standard operating procedure? What is it? If you don't have it, come up with it. Come up with it. If you need help, ask AI. Come back to my channel. We'll keep going because there's more things that we could talk about. If you go back to my past videos, you'll see some of the standard, some of the procedures that we've come up with, some of the questions that you could ask yourself, some of the understandings that we have flushed out, right, on a topic by topic basis for us to basically, for all intents and purposes, get self-control. Right? By understanding who we are, what we're going to do in life, and how we want to show up in that doing. That's what this channel is all about, right? If you don't believe me, head over to the YouTube, right? The Real Rich B's on all of these will give you those type of videos. You can do that if you please. Next, maybe men might say that a drama-free life is peace, right? Right? Drama-free life is peace. But even though they may say that, there's still men that are creating drama and saying it makes them feel alive, right? Case in point. You already got a partner, you already got a girl, you already got a woman, you already got your person. And you still go out and cheat on her. I know, I hear you right now, Rich, black men don't cheat. Okay, cool, I get you. But I'm saying that those who do, it might not be you, but those who do are creating drama because they say it makes them feel alive. That other person makes them feel alive. Them trying to hide, trying to be shifty, lying, creating all these other narratives. Why? Because they want to feel alive. That's not peace, right? You would feel alive anyway. Once you get to your state of tranquility, you're going to feel alive because you're going to feel at peace with that in you and around you, right? Peace may look like, for a man, just a knowing who he is, right? I said, when we were talking about Sparta, or excuse me, the movie 300, right? Those men in that movie didn't have to jump at things and all that kind of stuff all out of whack. Why? Because they knew who they were. The same thing I'm trying to tell you, the same thing I'm trying to do on my own, which is know who I am. Right? When we sit here and talk and we have these type of conversations, I'm able to convey to you guys what this channel is all about. Right? Why? Because I know what this channel is. I know what I've created it to be. I know what I'm trying to get across for those who view it. That's my goal. I wrote it out. I made it plain. Every time I get on stream, all I'm doing is executing that same vision / SOP. Right? That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing anything different than what I have already slated that I will be doing. Which is why I can say I know what this channel is. I know what this channel will be. With you, you're going to have to do the same thing, right? Because every man should know who he is. Right? You should know what your core values are. You should know the things that you believe in, the things you don't. You should know where you're going or where you want to go, where all of your efforts are going toward. You should know that. But even more than that, you should know what side you belong to. I'll let you sit with that. All right. Peace for a man also might look like handling pressure without becoming destructive. Right? Meaning you can get angry, but do no harm. I'll say it that way. Right? You can get angry, but do no harm. Meaning don't hurt somebody else just because you're hurt. Right? If you can operate like that, meaning I can handle the pressure and I'm not going to lay everything down, means that I'm showing up from a state of tranquility and still able to handle the thing that is before me, right? Handle the challenge that is before me. That's what peace could look like for a man, right? So if we take a second, I feel like what we need to do is a self-check, right? I feel like we need to take a self-check for a second and ask ourselves some questions, right? I'll ask me, you ask you. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to answer out loud. If you do, have at it, because I can't hear you. But if you want to answer in the chat, you can do that also, or answer in the comments. That's well okay. All of that's well and good, okay? So, first thing, let's ask ourselves, do I want peace or do I want comfort? That's question one, right? Do I want peace or do I want comfort? Two, do I want peace or do I want control? That might be a hard one for some of y'all, right? That might be a hard one for some of y'all because I think some of y'all do want control. Y'all want to control other people. I'm telling you now, that's not going to get you to a state of tranquility. That's not going to get you to a state of peace. You know what I'm saying? Question three, do I want peace or do I just want people to stop challenging me? That part. Yeah, that part. Right? Because challenging is not necessarily control. Challenging is like they're questioning you, right? They're saying, yeah, what you saying, that ain't what it is, right? From a state of peace, I can respond to that and be like, bro, you got it, right? Yep. Whatever you say, yep, I can do that. You got it. And you know what? That's not a sucker move. That's just the fact that you're gonna have to find out your own way. You're gonna have to find out what I'm saying is valid, and I don't have to force you to see it my way, right? So if you don't want to do it my way, go do it your way, right? You ain't gotta challenge me. Try it. Because if I'm telling you, I'm trying to tell you from experience, I'm trying to tell you from the knowledge, the wisdom that I have, the intelligence that I use on a normal basis, right? So if you don't want to do it that way, if you don't like the way that I'm telling you how this thing should be done, have at it. But I don't have to lose my peace for that, right? Because I do want peace. Right? So question 4, right? Am I peaceful or just temporarily unbothered? Because there are times when we're just unbothered, right? No, I'm not in a state of tranquility. I'm not at peace, but I am unbothered. But can temporarily being unbothered get me to peace? I think it can show us, it can give us glimpse, if you will, of what peace is, right? Or what having a state of tranquility may look like. It can, but I don't think it's the same, right? Because if I'm unbothered right now, blah, everything, it's blah. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? But that's not peace. Peace is Zen. I'm not worried about nothing. Everything is good, right? The way I see life is good, right? Last question. If I got everything quiet around me, right, would I actually be at peace? I'll ask it again, and I'm going to flip it a little bit. If you got everything around you quiet, would you actually be at peace? That can tell you whether or not you internally can sit with yourself, right? That question can literally let you know if those thoughts in your head are running rampant, or you can have that peace, right? That Zen in your head. Earlier, I think what did I call that? Earlier, I called that, I don't remember. I'm sitting here trying to think about what I called it. Man, my bad, y'all. Yeah, dang. I don't remember what I called it, but basically, if I'm able to calm down all the thoughts going around in my head, then that, I believe, is the epitome of what peace is. Because if I can sit with myself and my thoughts, then that means I have self-control, or control of self, in my mind, in my emotions, in my body, which is hard. It's hard for those who have a lot going on, like drama, thrive on pressure, looking for the next thing that triggers some sort of a feeling or something they're driving toward. That is not a state of peace, right? So if that's the case, then the question really is, once you ask yourself those questions, then it becomes, well, what destroys, or what gets rid of, or what ruins the peace in a man's life, right? What does that? The things that I came up with as I've thought about that question is bad choices, right? I mean, if you make bad choices, then yes, it can ruin your peace immediately. And it may be for a long time. One bad choice can ruin your peace for a considerable amount of time, right? Say you make a bad choice and you end up in jail, right? One bad choice. Because now you got to deal with the police, you have to deal with the court system, you have to deal with the prison system, you have to deal with inmates for however long that is. So one bad choice can lead you to a place that may make it hard for you to achieve peace. Not that you can't, because you can still have a state of tranquility inside you, but the bad choice can ruin your life, because then you're thinking about the choice, you're thinking about that move that you made, And now you're thinking about, well, what repercussions may come from this? Like all of that starts to spiral as you make that bad choice. That's why we have to pay attention to the things that we're doing and even look ahead before we make that decision. Right? Try to look ahead before you make that decision. Plan, basically, because then you can plan not to make the bad choice. And then once you have your plan in place, or you have your goal in place, or your vision in place, then as you're walking that out, you're able to look at these choices when they come, right? Because a choice has to come, like, has to present itself. You have options. When those options present itself, you'll choose the option that's best for you to be able to meet your goal, right? You won't choose the option that just looks good right now, because when you look at it, it goes against your goal. Your goal ain't gonna be a bad choice, obviously, right? What happens is it's the options that come up while you're reaching for your goal that become the bad choice. Because at every there are what we call decision points, right? As you're walking your life out, there's decision points. And those points can either get you to your goal faster, or it can take more time to get you to your goal. And I believe that it's those same points that modify whether or not you're going to be walking in a state of tranquility or a state of confusion. You have to watch your decision points, right? Another thing that can ruin the peace in a man's life can be a lack of discipline, right? Lack of discipline can do it all the time. Because if you're all over the place and not sticking to your plan, that's how you encounter those options or decision points in which you will end up making bad choices or bad decisions, right? Wrong people, that can ruin a man's peace. Wrong people, right? Wrong people. I don't even think I need to say more about that. Because that's family, that's relationships, that's no matter what the relationship is, right? Now, you can't choose the wrong kids. Your kids are your kids. You got to deal with that, right? But every other position, you could have chosen the wrong person. Now, if it's your spouse, if you ended up getting married and you feel like, oh, well, I chose the wrong spouse. Did you? Or are you just looking at that spouse in the wrong way? Because you think they should be something that they weren't designed to be for you. I think we really need to pay attention to that. Because honestly, I don't think that people choose the wrong spouses. Do I think there's times where you may have? Maybe. But I believe that people who end up actually getting married, and I'm not talking about no quick elope, right? Like at you know what I mean, south of the border or something, right? Like I ain't talking about no quick elope. You go to Vegas and you know in a night of drunken passion and you know you get married. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who have gotten engaged and you know they're doing all this planning and all that kind of stuff, and then you know they get married and then later on they say, oh well, I married the wrong person. Did you? Or did you just not accept who that person is and the part that they should be playing in your life because you really didn't understand what marriage was? You didn't really understand what a couple looks like, what coming together as one unit looks like, right? Because you can't come together as one unit if both of y'all are doing the same things. That's not what that's not what a couple is, or a partnership, or a team even. That's not what it is, right? If you think about it from the sense of a team, you have, let's talk about basketball. You got 5 different players. Football, you got 11 different players on the field at the same time, right? On the court at the same time, 5 people, right? Not one of them people play the same position. You don't have 2 people standing up at point guard, right, trying to bring the ball down the court. You don't have 2 people doing that at the same time. You can't. Right? No. If you have a shooting guard and a point guard, then sometimes they may swap positions. Right? Even the center may bring the ball down the court like they're a point guard. But the point is that no 2 people play the same position. They have to know what their dynamic is on the team and be able to shift positions when needed. And that's okay. That doesn't make you have a bad couple because you have to swap positions a time or two throughout your marriage or throughout your relationship. That's not a bad thing, because there's times where one person in the marriage might have a job the other person doesn't. Okay, man, that doesn't make you less of a man because you don't currently have a job and the woman is having to pay the bill. That doesn't make you less of a man. That just means right now I don't have a job. But right now in the team, you are having to swap positions with where you thought that you would be. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That just means in this moment, I have to take on this other responsibility, this other role. And that's okay. All right. But then the opportunity will come up that you'll end up getting up, and then the roles may swap again. Or they might not even swap again. They might become some kind of a hybrid. Right? Which I feel like the hybrid is the better way anyway. Nobody has a designated role. It's what is needed for the relationship to be successful. How did I get on this relationship thing? How did I get on the relationship thing? I think it's because I'm talking about the whole peace subject, right? Like, if you can get okay with that type of thinking, that there's no designated role, there's a hybridization or a unifying that takes place in a relationship where there's a joining up, that sometimes she's handling this, sometimes you're handling this, sometimes I'm handling this, sometimes she's handling this. Like, that's what a relationship is. That's what becoming one is, right? Your left hand is not in a position of your right hand, right? I know on your screen it might be the other way around. Point is, this hand is not this hand, right? This hand, when it grabs things, it has to grab from this way because it's rare that you're going to grab something from this way, right? Unless you're doing Kung Fu or something. Wing Chun is what I was thinking about. If you're doing Wing Chun, then okay, I may end up coming around, you know what I'm saying? I may end up coming around with some kind of move like this. But on a normal basis, I'm not picking up my pen like this right here and trying to write. You know what I'm saying? How does that don't look right? Because I'm trying to write like I'm right-handed, but I'm left-handed. So my point is that no two things operate the same way, especially when you have different childhoods, you have different lives, you have different understandings, different visions, different things that you were going for as you even got married. Both of y'all had a different reason that you got married, or that you became a couple, or that you even became friends to begin with, right? So we were talking about wrong people can ruin your peace. I believe that in some of those situations, it's not wrong people ruining your peace. It's you ruining your own peace. People are going to be what people are. But you can't let those people outside control whether or not you'll be in a state of peace or a state of tranquility as you walk your life out. Make sense? I know I said a lot in that. I know I said a lot. And I told you it was coming. I knew I said a lot. The other things, and I'm gonna speed it up real quick because we're coming to a quick end on this. If you don't have any standards, right? If you don't have any standards in your life, look at the episode. We did a whole episode on standards, right? If you have unresolved pain, trauma, if you will, that can ruin your peace, right? If you're stuck with your ego, right? Everything is ego based. If you let that ego take control, that can ruin your peace, right? If you're sitting here and you're dealing with a whole lot of confusion, that can ruin your peace, right? If you're outside of the purpose for your life or the alignment that you were trying to line up for you to be successful in your life, if you get outside of that, that can ruin your peace. You know what I'm saying? So those are what we call the peace destroyers for a man. right? Because those things destroy the peace. So if we get to the next point, right? And I'm going to call this take it like a man. In essence, it's the stronger point, right? Because peace is not soft. Peace takes structure. It takes discipline. It takes wisdom. It takes telling yourself the truth about all things, right? Because a chaotic man usually can't hold peace long. They can't hold themselves in a state of peace, a state of tranquility, because he will keep recreating the very thing he's saying that he wants to get away from. I'm just saying. Take it like a man. Take it like a man, bro. So listen, I'm gonna give you guys a couple of takeaways before we land this plane, before we bring it on in, before we slide into home base. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give you a couple takeaways. Here's a good couple takeaways, okay? Now these are things that you might want to write down, because these things may actually be things that you can go back and say, you know what? Let me think about that. Okay? So here's one. A lot of men don't want peace. They want relief. That's why we asked ourselves the first question, do I want peace or do I want relief? Right? Peace is not the absence of pressure. Right? Pressure makes diamonds. But that doesn't mean that you can't be at peace in yourself during that process. Right? Silence is not always peace. If you can remember that, then the next one will be a little bit easier for you to take. Because control is not peace. Just because you can control your outside and tell people what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing, it doesn't mean that you'll be at peace. Oh, you know what? Here's a quick example of that. Why are there a lot of people who own corporations and own companies and fathers of families and all of that kind of stuff? They have the decision making, the authority over the whole kit and caboodle. However, they go in themselves. Why is it? Because just because you can control something does not mean that you're at peace inside. That you're at a state of tranquility. Doesn't mean that. Right? Why? Because if chaos is in me, I will keep recreating it outside of me. And peace takes discipline. Right? I'll say it again for the people in the back. Yeah, not you, behind you. Peace takes discipline. Always remember that. So the question is not just, do I want peace? The real question is, am I becoming the kind of man who can hold peace when it shows up? That's the question. Am I becoming the kind of man that can hold peace when it shows up? And a caveat to that is, can I create it? Can I create it? Can I choose peace? Right? Thank y'all for joining me today. Hey, I appreciate you sticking around. Hopefully you will choose peace. Hopefully you will choose to be in a state of tranquility for the remainder, at least of this day. Try it. See if you can keep your peace, right? You can operate with peace. Okay? Try it today. See if you can get through the rest of your day in that state. Because sometimes we even feel like if I can just get 1 minute of peace, I can get back to the grind. I can do the thing that I need to do. Sometimes that's how it is. Sometimes that's how it feels, right? So that's why I'm telling you, choose peace and make sure that you come back, like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you tell a friend to follow your man's Rich B's, the Real Rich B's, on all of these. And I'll see you next time. More than likely tomorrow. If I don't know that I will be working, I might get on a co-work. Maybe. We'll see. Thank y'all for joining me. This has been Rich B's, signing off. And I'm out.